The law and gospel distinction is inherent in Scripture and pretty clearly presented in the book of Romans, because in the book of Romans, Paul spends the first 2.5 chapters basically establishing the thesis that the whole human race is guilty. The whole human race is in a state where they can only throw themselves on the mercy of God, and that they can't claim any righteousness for themselves. So in the first chapter, he makes this case for the nations in general. In the second chapter, he shows how Israel ends up in the same place, even though Israel was given the law, which he then explains a few chapters later. They were given specifically so that they could understand how much they needed Christ. The solution then in chapter 3 is that since all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, they are justified only by the grace of God as a gift through the propitiation that is in Jesus Christ. So that's law and gospel. I mean, the whole rhetorical structure of those first 3 chapters is law and gospel. And we see it repeated then in chapter 5, which considers how the law was really there in order to convict you. And then chapter 6, which talks about being buried with Christ by baptism into death so that we can walk in newness of life, and how we're not under the slavery of the law and death anymore. And there is chapter 7 then goes into detail. This is what the slavery to the law and death is like, and we can still experience it. But there is no more condemnation for those who are in Jesus Christ. And chapter 8 talks about the life walking in the freedom of the Spirit, and walking by the Spirit instead of by the flesh, in the freedom and forgiveness that Christ has gotten for you. And so law and gospel really is, it's a totally biblical template.